part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and today we are back on our Summer of X train. Goodbye, Secret Invasion. We're done with you. We're back talking about the X-Men, and we are digging into these prequels. And we're back with X-Men First Class, a.k.a. the 60s one. Joining me are two first-time guests, but I'm longtime fans of them. That's what I'll say. It's a get. It's a big get. We have a joint married? Yes, they're married. Confirmed. Thank you. They are together. They are a filmmaking duo, theater practitioners. Please welcome to your ears, Cassie Ayers and Anthony Lombard.
Hey,
Damon.
Go X-Men.
Go, yeah. When you make a commitment to watch all the X-Men movies, you got to watch all the X-Men movies. And I'm finding that out this summer.
Yeah. We Googled it this morning to see where First Class came in the lineup of all of the movies.
Yeah, the timeline.
And I was surprised how many there were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're deep in it. Although, ironically, it's the first of them all.
Okay. That's what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Fifth in the production
timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the year 2000, they weren't thinking about starting from the actual beginning. They were like, no. Let's just get Wolverine out of the way.
Yeah.
So I want to go to Cassie Ayers first, alphabetically. It makes sense to me. Cassie, what is your relationship with X-Men and also Marvel superhero movies? Was this your first time watching this movie?
This was my first time watching this one. As a kid, I actually was pretty into X-Men graphic novels. And I was really into, my siblings are a lot older, so they loved that 80s X-Men cartoon. So I feel like that was X-Men was my way into this kind of comic book worlds as a kid. But I will say, in modern times, I definitely watched the first maybe 3 or 4 X-Men movies in the franchise, but I fell off. And that's kind of how I feel about all the Marvel and superhero content. I like it, I would say, but also I think I got oversaturated by it and became more apathetic as of late. I'm sad to say, but this was a great opportunity to kind of I don't know, it was really fun to watch this movie. I don't think it was the best film ever made, but it did make me excited to watch more in the franchise.
Excellent. I would say just watch one more and then stop because it gets rough. And I feel you on the apathetic nature. Sometimes I wish I could join you, but then I have this platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Lombard, same question for you. Where are you coming at this discussion?
I feel like I didn't watch a lot of superhero comic book stuff when I was a kid, but I've loved all the Marvel stuff, and I'm just generally a fan of high budget action movies. That's a comfort place for me. So on a day off, or if Cassie's not around the house, very good odds I'll put on some kind of X-Men movie or a Marvel movie or something like that, just as background noise or something. So this is one today watching this, I was like, have I watched this? Parts of this seem so familiar and parts of it didn't at all. So it could have been one that I just had on one day while I was folding laundry or something. But I do watch a lot of these movies. I feel
and I would love to clarify that you're allowed to watch the movies. It's not you have to watch them when I'm gone, but that it won't, you have certain things you watch with your partner that you're do not watch that without me because we need to experience it together. So I just wanted to clarify, you're welcome to watch as much Marvel as you like.
Thank you. That feels good.
And Cassie, you could take or leave. You don't have to be there.
That's how I feel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'll dive in with my thoughts about X-Men First Class. I feel like the listenership, the nerds, they know how I feel about superhero movies, but I love this movie. I'm sorry. Lock me up. I love it. I think it's great. I don't know. The 60s aesthetic really gels with me. And I'm just cropped hair, slim pants. Let's go. I love it.
Yes.
And I mean, heretofore, let's just get this on the table. You can't tell me that Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy are not a couple in this movie, this is a love story.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just need to put that boundary up that's what's happening with me. Okay, so let's dive into this film.
They're clearly in
Yeah.
love, but like there's not I don't know. I don't understand the arc. Like by the end of the movie, I was kind of like, when did they fall in love with each other? You know,
Yeah.
like there was
Mhm.
it's all hinged on their strong like feelings and I guess, you know, uniting over being outcasts. But we never saw that in the movie, you know?
Yeah, I think it got mixed up in montage, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the montage they do is huge. Never has a montage been more important to character development.
Yeah, really.
And talk about
This one.
60s aesthetics. It was just like all like little, you know, thirds of screen like sliding in and like
Oh, that's right.
cubic moments and the end credits too also had kind of like this
little,
like
like-
ball aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
very like James Bond. And I just feel like the director really got off on the, you know, period piece of it all.
Oh yeah, I feel like this is like, I don't want to give it too many accolades, but I feel like this was like the first superhero period piece, like at least movie wise, that I can think of. Let's take it back. So producer Michael, he did some research on both of y'all. So Cassie Ayers, apparently your favorite year is 1944. Did you feel hurt that it was such a dark corner of 1944 that we saw in the beginning?
I was personally hurt. I just thought there's so much more to celebrate in 1944, such as you know, the seeds being planted for the space race, and you know, what else was happening besides the big event of 1944. But I just, yeah, you know, yeah, I kind of wished we could have focused on some of the positive things.
Absolutely.
But Hitler's always taken the focus.
Yep.
God, that
One of his many flaws.
I'm going to say right here, Hitler, major diva. Dare I say the original diva? I can say that. But instead, we start in Poland, 1944, which, yeah, this was. I was like, I remember when I first saw this, I was like, are we just going to redo the first X-Men movie because this was already in?
Yes,
I thought
that's what we thought too.
I was like, I haven't seen this movie. And then we got to that scene and I was like, oh, I have seen this movie. And then they cut to the second scene and I said, oh, I haven't. And they just used the exact same.
The exact
moment.
same shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here we get a little bit more. We get to see what happens after the gate. You know, Magneto as a kid twists the gate with his mutant powers, and then he meets Kevin Bacon, whose name is Sebastian Stan or something Schmidt, but it's Kevin Bacon. How did meeting Kevin and this horrible scene, tonally horrible, how did it ride for you guys?
I was shocked that it was Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, out of all the people
Speaking
to
of-
walk into that room, yeah, that was surprising.
But there was a really fun like reveal where he's talking to Kevin Bacon and then, well, I thought it was foreshadowing and then I felt that they didn't actually execute on it. They have this shot where they're showing them like in an office and then the camera pans to reveal that like on the other side of the office, there's like a dividing wall with windows and in the other room is like a torture chamber essentially or like a medical like fucked up place and there's just like walls lined with saws and metal objects. So right away, you know, you're like, hell yes, like this kid is gonna flip and like all those weapons are gonna like kill everyone.
Yeah.
But they didn't actually really give us that. So at first I was like so jazzed by that kind of foreshadowing. I don't know, I guess it built tension and maybe they chose to like subvert that, but I don't know.
It was just kind of like the last scene in Jumanji when the game pieces are going back into the board. He just kind of spins them all around, screaming.
And I was like, why couldn't it break the glass windows in the room? I don't know.
Yeah.
I was confused why he didn't kill Kevin Bacon. That's the whole film is about revenge on Kevin Bacon, and I didn't understand the motivation for not immediately killing him in the moment that this whole movie started.
Because he crushed the two heads of the soldiers who were holding his mom, like without thinking about it. He was like, crush their heads in the room around, but I'll like leave Kevin Bacon alive.
Well, he needed
like some kind of parent adult in his life, and this was like the one person that was like, I'll take care of you. It just killed your mom. So
I was gonna say, I think he needed his one true love to mentally melt, to do a little mind meld with him so he can access his powers. But that's just how love saves the day in this movie. Much like the film, I want to immediately cut to Westchester, New York. So Anthony, so you said you've seen the first three X-Men movies, right? The original ones.
I believe so. Yeah.
How did you deal with Mystique showing up in Professor X's house and them just retconning the biggest retcon
Yeah.
I've ever experienced?
It took me a while to figure out where we even were, why we were in Westchester. I couldn't remember why we were going to Westchester and who was there. And I forgot if I had known anything about Mystique and Xavier's relationship. Like, and I forgot that they had like known each other for like
that new information. Like, that's what I was wondering. How is this canon?
It's new. Is this new?
It's new. I mean, the only thing on their side is that Mystique and Professor X have no scenes together in any of the first three X-Men movies. So you'd be right in thinking they don't know each other.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is something that bothered me throughout, but this is like the seed of that, which is just like their whole relationship. Like, you know, they're establishing that maybe they're like brother, sister, but there's also like sexual tension the whole time.
Yeah.
And then also Xavier just treats her like like his daughter. You know, he has like weird daddy energy the whole time and is like constantly like, I'm disappointed in you, and like checking her. And it is weird. I'm like, you guys grew up together. You're siblings. Why aren't you?
Right.
Why are you acting like this?
Yeah. He said you come back anytime for food.
Yeah. You can have whatever you want. Fucking Harry Potter.
And that red wig with that like hairline that's just like receded.
Yeah.
Iconic.
There's some wild cuts in there where it just like cuts right to her crazy hairline.
Yeah.
She's like something.
Her permanently gelled little swoop hair.
Perfect flip. Yeah. That was the 60s.
The 60s or her mutation. We'll never know. And I mean, okay. All right. Fine, Michael. I'll talk about the queer coding in this movie. Jesus. Okay, here we go. Michael. There's something I recognize of like Charles and Mystique and like him like bringing her in, very like, you know, house mother welcoming in another runaway queer person. And then there's this whole like self-hate thing that's happening of like Charles just wants to be more and more human, and Mystique is like, but I'm a mutant, I'm blue, I should just be who I am. So
we don't have to pass. Like, I think there's a kind of conversation about like passing versus assimilating.
Thank you. Yeah. But like the movie's, you know, it's 2011, so the movie's never really going to go fully there.
Yeah.
But they do say twice. What is
mutant and proud.
Mutant and proud.
Yeah.
Which like Jennifer Lawrence has to deliver that line twice. Yeah. It is like so rude to her.
I know. I wrote it down in quotes because I was like, what? That's such a strange moment. Yeah. Remember.
It's like
and proud.
Yeah. And like mutants aren't even like, are we colloquially calling them mutants? Like no one's discovered them yet. So how are they even, they're already self-identifying as mutant?
Yeah.
I was confused the whole movie about how much the general public or even the military knew about mutants, because sometimes it felt like this was new. And yeah, obviously mutants are discovering each other for the first time. And so probably the public too. But also I feel like we didn't really get moments of people
being like
being shocked by it, or they would for like a moment and then we would just move on to be like, now we're working together, and I like don't have any questions or biases or walls up or like I was confused by that.
Like with Nicholas Hoult, you know, going ahead a little bit, Nicholas Hoult is like with Oliver Platt, and first of all, Professor Xavier just outs him like, oh, so happy to see another mutant.
Yes.
And it's like, I had no idea.
So sorry.
It's like, actually, my feet are enormous.
And that whole narrative, like about him and Mystique, like he relates to Mystique because they both have to hide their like, you know, mutantness. And I'm like, bro, you just have a thumb on your foot. Like, it's not that bad. How often do people even see your feet?
Yeah.
You know? Damn it, you could have a big toe on your foot that's a thumb, and like I wouldn't probably know that about
never
you.
Know that,
yeah. And
not enough to ostracize you.
Kind of weird and specific to ask me about, but you're actually never gonna see my feet now.
But I will try. I do find out.
The quest never ends. Yeah. I mean, I guess when I say this movie is perfect for me, I really just mean Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy.
Yeah. That really is a highlight.
Oh my
God.
God.
I liked a lot of it. There is a lot of funny things too. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, this is beginning the 2010s obsession with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Like, man, her. Well, there's a scene that really bothers me with her, but we'll get to it. So, Cassie Ayers, producer Michael did some research on you, and apparently you were Michael Fassbender's personal assistant for a time.
Yeah.
Well,
Honestly, I'm not really allowed to talk about it because I signed an NDA.
of course,
but let's
industry,
just say,
Hollywood. Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's just say that the scars are, emotional and physical burns from the coffee thrown on my skin.
Okay, sounds like a very nice job.
But I would 100% work for him again.
But I would go back. How was he in this movie for you guys? Like, I'm specifically thinking about his first scene as adult Magneto in a suit, going to
in the bank.
At the bank. Yep.
I made a note on this scene because we saw a tongue POV shot as the tooth gets ripped out. Like a second, we cut to tongue POV and we see him outside of the mouth as the tooth flies into his hand.
I thought he was one of the stronger performers.
Oh, definitely.
I think so. I think that was one of the best performances. And like, again, not to shit on a movie that you're obsessed with, Damon, but sometimes
go on.
I thought it was like an incredible cast, like so many stars in this.
Yeah.
And also I felt like the script, like the dialogue was hard sometimes. So I really actually feel like Fassbender was like crushing it because there wasn't always a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think is this where we want to get into this? Oh yeah, perfect. Yes. Perfectly. I think we're at the point where I think the person who suffered the most in this movie is Rose Byrne, Moira McTaggart.
Yes.
Moira. I know. First of all, her name's Moira. To be young and named Moira.
Also, did you notice that every woman we saw in their underwear within like really early on into the movie?
Oh, yeah.
It just didn't. Yeah, that was forced. I thought like right away, it's like January Jones in underwear. I mean, that's great. That's a gift to all of us. Like, thank you, director, for that. But then it's like Rose. I mean, they were all gifts in their own right. But like, her character, then she has to get into her lingerie to like go undercover. And then we meet Angel, who's like an exotic dancer. Yeah. It's also in her underwear. And like Mystique, I guess, is the only one we didn't see like that. But she's also just like blue and fully naked.
Like naked.
Yeah. Her natural self is to not be wearing clothes. And
I did question, like, not to get too weird about it, but like, because the way Xavier responded to her standing just as her full self without clothing on, like Magneto implied, like, that's you. You don't need to cover up with a robe. Like, would you tell a tiger to wear a t-shirt? Never, let yourself free. So like that's kind of liberating. But then Xavier reacts in this way as if she is like naked. And I guess my question is like her boobs, there's no nipples. So like at least by American standards, like that's okay. But then I'm curious like what's happening with the vagina area and like because to me that's going to be the difference about if she feels like a naked woman in front of you or if her blue skin is like a clothing mechanism. So that's what I was thinking about.
Let's go into this because I've always assumed that she has no reproductive parts, and that's why she shapeshifts.
Okay, yeah.
Like she can make it.
That makes sense.
I want to say she can.
That makes sense. If she's constructing the face, why could she not construct the genitals?
Yeah.
Great point. Thank you for me.
I think it's like a Barbie situation, and it's like that textured kind of blue.
I can see that. I think that would make sense.
Then why not show us that?
You cowards.
Hand down, why don't you?
We have questions. That would make sense.
Well, no, and then there's also something weird about
prude.
That too, where when she's with Magneto, he says maybe in a couple years you're like, right, because you're an older man and she's like a younger woman, but then she turns blue and then he's like, but now I can kiss you. So then you're like, wait, was it that she's young or was it that she was a human? Or I
mean, if we're talking about that scene, there's a lot fucked up with that scene to begin with. Like she was like, oh, you're nice to me, better be naked in your bed. No,
waiting for you,
dude. That's why I'm like, they did her so dirty. Like her character doesn't make sense. And yeah, exactly. I don't think he even is that much older than her. Because if like, I'm assuming, I don't know, aren't Magneto and Xavier
she's probably the same. Yeah, he just seems older.
Age range.
Her age is always up for a question because I think that was a thing that Yeah, he said something was in her DNA that like even when she's 40, she'll still look young or something. So like
Yeah.
because of her mutation, because she can shapeshift, her age is always like in flux and in question.
And so back to the theory of Magneto being like, we could fuck in a couple of years. Like that's really messed up. To like, if a child like was trying to,
It was laying naked
if
in
your
your
child like, no, I can't have sex with you because you're a minor, but just wait in a few years. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
he's hurting her. Like, what's happening? And I thought Magneto was like one of my favorite characters. So like, I hated that because I was like, I don't know, that was a bad moment of writing because that's like, I didn't feel true to who he was.
No, I mean the last 45 minutes of this movie are like, okay, we need to make them the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Evil. Like we need to like establish the good guys and the bad guys amongst the cast of the good guys, you know?
You're right.
Basically, that montage, we're gonna get to that montage. Okay, talk to me about our villain. Like we got January Jones as Emma Frost.
Mhm. I got.
Does she
Yeah.
exist?
I mean-
And do you know if I didn't do any research on this? Like, does that character exist outside of this film? Okay,
Yes,
that's
yes.
good.
She's real, and actually, at one point, she ran the X-Men in some comic variation. Ones that don't exist are Tornado Man and Red Devil. Those are
Yeah.
big. I have no idea.
I
who
was
those
like,
people
some of
are.
these I've never heard of, which isn't
Yeah.
to say that they don't exist, but I just was like, they dug deep into
Yeah,
them.
I literally have a note that just says "guy with tornado hands" because I was like, have we called him by name yet, or does
And
he
he
just?
never spoke, and he kind of was like in and out too. I was like,
Is that guy? Is he in Ted Lasso? Michael, if I'm wrong, cut this
We're
out.
thinking.
we thought it was, but it actually is a Spanish actor who has the exact same face, but
Yeah,
is just in
And
like
same hair.
yeah. I
Yeah,
thought it was him right away. I was like, oh my god,
yeah. So
tornado hands is soccer man.
Tornado is life.
Yeah, that could make
she-
tornadoes in his hands, or then also like become a tornado or control a tornado.
honestly, that was
Like
the one I had the
certain
least
place.
problems with.
Yeah, fair.
But
Yeah, I
Diamond
had.
form, like she's psychic and she goes into diamond form, which I love. I don't know. Again, like I'm sure in the comics it's like way more fleshed out, and in this movie they were just like, go along with it, please.
Yeah.
I mean, the only factor the Diamond had, that her Diamond form was like it prevented other people from being able to read her mind, like
Right,
so that
yeah.
Okay.
it was like a nice shield. But the Tornado Man was fine, but how people reacted to tornadoes was weird. Like this first general, like if a tornado was planted in front of you, like it wasn't this man, would you just look at it until it smacked you in the face? Like it was like, well, what does it do?
Yeah, it's coming towards me, and yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of moments like that of people just like not responding to major threats in the way that you'd think they would. Because also
Mhm.
there's the scene on the boat where the colonel has like the grenade, and he's like, "I'll blow us all up." And
Yeah.
then
And it's the same guy who
a good point.
oh yeah,
And they literally just or what's his name? Kevin Bacon just walks up to him and takes it out of his hand. And there's not using powers or anything, just like he lets Kevin Bacon take the grenade out of his hand. Another moment where I was like, why aren't you reacting to this?
yeah, dive off the ship. Like
right.
Yeah, or at least pull your hand away. Like
Yeah.
there was
Mhm.
no resistance.
so these villains make up what is called the Hellfire Club, who that's a thing, that's a comic book thing.
Right.
I feel like they're always used when it's like the old guard before Magneto took over. It was the Hellfire Club. This is your classic war movie. And you know it's a war movie because you see old white men in a room with large maps. And that's how you know war is on the way.
I feel like all those scenes I just kind of blacked out a little bit. Like at the end of it, I was like, I actually don't understand any of the like
Even
political kind of like tensions at play, which I think was fine anyways.
Oh yeah. And this is very new for X-Men movies to go this global. I feel like it's usually just like people are trying to hurt and kill mutants, but this is like the Cold War. We're essentially this is like the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, who would have thought you would have learned on podcast 616? But here we are, y'all's history
I
lesson.
know.
But honestly, we can yada out of that because I want to go to Argentina for this fucking scene.
Yes.
My man's who is going to say something lascivious to a younger woman later in the movie, but for now, he was being very hot, taking out some ex-Nazis. Anthony Lombard, producer Michael did some research on you. You actually bartended at this bar in the 1960s. Were you there? Were you there that day?
I opened actually. I opened that day. Yeah.
Wow.
I heard about it later from everyone else. Sounded pretty cool. But yeah, I was opening the next day too. So I was cleaning up.
So you were gone by the time the events happened?
Yeah, I wasn't there I was there just before and then just after all the events. Yeah. Or else I'd
damn.
probably have a cool story.
Or you probably be dead.
I cleaned up.
Yeah.
The old German men.
I'm sorry to your Boston friends. I don't know. This does it for me in like what I think is sexy. Someone getting vengeance and revenge. And using the same knife, like when he like stabbed that man in the hand, then he threw the knife into somebody, pulled it back, and stabbed the man in the hand again. It's great.
Loved it. And he ends the scene by just shooting a guy with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
He did all these crazy things with metal and all that, and then he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna use the gun right now and just kill the guy.
And the moment where they all drank the beer and the tinted
Oh,
in their eyes, my favorite was just like their eyes are darting back and forth. Just like slightly too long, but just like so amazing.
Yeah.
Also, Magneto's such a polyglot. Like he spoke, I was trying to keep track, but like, you know, he speaks German. I think he speaks French at one point.
Exactly.
He speaks Spanish in this scene.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm missing some, but that was hot to me as well.
Yeah. Regular old English as well. It just felt like Michael Fassbender was packaged as like the next big thing in this movie. Like he can do it. He just seemed so game for everything. Yeah. Like the scene when he's wearing his little Newsies cap and his leather jacket and he just goes running into the building.
I love that.
Yeah.
With all the what's it called?
Oh, the barbed wire.
Oh, yeah.
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 That was a cool little usage of his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Xavier runs by and he's like, "Oh no, go to sleep." Like,
sleep.
Yeah, but he doesn't help the people. He's just like, forget my face.
Yeah.
Forget my face. Yeah. Oh no, like.
I will say I actually that brings up an interesting point about how Xavier was treated in this movie, because I think I had forgotten how culpable he was in so much stuff, like going to the very end when they kill Sebastian, Kevin Bacon with the coin through the head, which who would have thought that coin would have been thematic. Like he keeps him there and he like allows Magneto to kill him. So I don't know, Xavier, not great. I know you guys are big fans of his, but I don't know.
Well, I was trying to think, what his motivation was there, and I feel like maybe that man had just turned himself into like a nuclear bomb, essentially.
Yeah.
So maybe, he thinks that holding him back and letting Magneto kill him is maybe like the best option right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand what his intention was.
Yeah.
Because he definitely seemed like he didn't want Magneto to do it.
Right.
And was he also experiencing that man's experience of having the coin go through his head?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He just was like, I'll be in him for this part.
It's my impression of James McAvoy. That's it.
Yeah.
I found Xavier just like I found him more villainous than Magneto the whole time. Like I think what you're describing maybe in a way of just like
more subverted or like.
Yeah, he's very controlling. Obviously he has the mind like reading abilities, and that already is like such an invasion of people's consent and privacy. So I feel like, and then on top of that, the way they wrote him in this one too, like just from the start, the way all his pickup lines were related to like talking to women about mutations, and then like, they implied that he was like, they were like his students, and he spoke to everyone. He was just like so, he was a fucking know-it-all, because there was a scene too with like we can get back to the montage, but like Banshee, he's like, Banshee, the pitch at which you whistle like shatters glass, and he like does this whole explanation to this man about how his power works, and I'm like, the dude is doing it. I think he understands why. And it's not like a concept that is that crazy. We've all like heard of opera singer like singing and breaking glass.
We all know that.
So I found Xavier to be like so rude, like I don't know. I just feel like he was doing all these like bad things, but kind of parading around like a good guy, whereas Magneto is like, I'm scarred and broken, but I'm like on a like revenge journey. I don't know. So you can tell what team I was on, clearly.
We'll get to that at the end. But as a defender of this movie. I feel like that was done for a purposeful reason, because I know in the next one, Days of Future Past, Xavier is even worse. Like he's kind of like a little bit of a monster. And I think you're supposed to, the fucking prequels, you're supposed to juxtapose the Patrick Stewart, who he becomes, who's very noble and like the kind fatherly figure.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, people change, people are different later than they were before. And that's time.
Oh no, sorry. And I just think that even like the Patrick Stewart version, like I think Xavier is like a flawed character because like in order to do good, he is like a father to all these kids, but he also like sends them out to war essentially.
Yeah.
So I think there's always kind of that like dynamic, which is actually pretty interesting to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sending people out to war is bad, much like sending this podcast into a break. It's terrible, but we have to do it. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk about everybody's favorite character, Oliver Platt, and all the other recruits from the, X-Men First Class. We'll be right back with more Podcast 616. Keep it right here. Welcome, everyone, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and I am inviting you to listen and subscribe to this Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. On Podcast 616, we gather some of today's greatest comedians, writers, and actors to dive deep into all things Marvel, like comic book history and lore, all the interconnected superhero storylines, and of course, who's hot and who's not in the MCU. Honestly, why aren't you listening right now? You have the power to listen to Podcast 616. And as we always say, with great power comes even greater responsibility. Listen and subscribe to Podcast 616 wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
Hey everyone, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of Producing While Asian. Join us in Season 2 for more conversations with actors, artists, producers, and more from Broadway, Hollywood, and beyond, every other Wednesday on the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we're back. Hey, question for you two, Cassie and Anthony. Who's more useless? Mystique or Oliver Platt's character?
I was so excited when we did that that zoom across the table into the man in the background who just says like, "Oh, that's interesting." Like,
yes.
Who's this? There's no one else sitting in the back of the room. There's just one man who isn't invited to the table, but has enough power to say like, "I'll take the mutants."
Mm-hmm.
Just in the back of the room, like.
He was late.
He was late, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was the one scene where they're like in the office and he's, Magneto comes in and he's like, we should be the ones who make contact with the mutants and like the CIA shouldn't be involved. Mm-hmm. And then Oliver Platt's like, no. And then he just loses. Like, he just
yeah.
Even really stand up to them in that moment either.
Yeah, and that's another moment too when he dies, nobody even tried to save him.
Oh my gosh. How did he die? Did he die when they attacked in one of my favorite super hero or villain killing sprees, where that guy is just teleporting people to the sky and letting them go? Yeah. Which is my God, yes.
I honestly think I missed that he died in that.
Okay, yeah, he's going. That guy's Red Devil.
Azazel, I guess.
Azazel.
Yeah,
I caught that once maybe in the movie. Red guy is cool. Yeah, he just was blasting through that building and transporting people to the sky and letting them go. And he picks up Oliver Platt at one point, drops him. He falls directly in front of the new recruits.
Yeah.
In full panic mode. They're in full huddling together mode.
Before we get to that scene, just because I know people love to follow along the movie with this podcast, the Oliver Platt teams up with Professor X and Rose Byrne and Jennifer Lawrence, and they go after Sebastian. Meanwhile, Magneto is also going after him solo. There's this lovely scene with an anchor as he tries to destroy his ship.
Hmm.
Cassie Ayers, producer Michael found that you are a submarine enthusiast. Was this submarine up to your standards?
It was beyond anything I could have dreamed for a submarine. It had seemingly endless rooms. Every time we got back to the submarine, there was a new room, and I need to find out who the interior designer was, because there was a main hull of the submarine. That's exactly what you'd expect, especially for the 1960s. Metal rivets. I don't think they had one of those like little people thing. Periscope. It's that aesthetic. Then they go into another room that is just like retro 60s, like white, and at this point they were all wearing white, which I love, like a group color coordination. And it's just like sexy cocktail lounge area. And then at another point we go into another room, and I don't even know what that was exactly. There was a whole other room that was like covered in like
the
shiny
mirrors.
Thing. I can't even remember at this moment the purpose of it.
It blocked brain waves.
Okay, classic. So it was like a reverse cerebral or something.
Yes, reverse. Fucking Cerebro. God. If you've been listening to the Summer of X podcast series, you'll remember how useless I feel about Cerebro. What an unnecessary element. You just lift it out. It's so stupid. Anyway, but yes, I laughed out loud because I had truly forgotten that the sub was where the villains lived. I think that's so goofy.
Yeah, too. And I was like, they're on a boat running away from a man who controls metal. And they're like, where do we go? Where do we go? The submarine. And that would be like the last place I would think to go when the man who can crush metal with his mind is in the water just outside my submarine.
But you guys, he can't do it. He can't lift it. He hasn't met his boyfriend yet who could teach him how to use his abilities. Can I say there's nothing more queer to me than someone teaching me how to use my mutant abilities in my brain? I think that was the hottest scene when like Magneto's like underwater and they're getting away in the sub, and Professor's like, let go. It's not time yet.
And he's like holding him in this way where his head is like right on his shoulder. It's as if he's like whispering it in his ear. It was really hot. And Magneto's like raging, and he's like, calm yourself. Like, yeah.
Two strangers in the night.
Like, it is just classic gay fan fiction. It's all there. Like the one who's like, I'm so mad, and the calm one. And then they heal each other with their thoughts. Page 2 of my notes.
No, I love that moment. I made a note too, because also just like the way they did the voiceover is like a funny choice too. I don't know what I would change about it, but it's like so clear and loud that it just was funny for him to be like, hey, we're underwater, you gotta stop, like you gotta calm your mind.
Gotta calm that mind, girl. So they got Magneto, and then we meet Nicholas Hoult, who I just watched in that Nicolas Cage movie, Renford.
We just watched it too.
Wild. Okay, we're on the same viewing cycle. He stars as Hank McCoy, who would just want to again state that he will grow up to become Frasier. Kelsey Grammer plays Adult Beast. Don't forget.
Oh my god.
And so they hook up. We need Cerebro so we can do the first montage where we find all the mutants.
Yes.
Do we like the cameo? Get a little cameo from our Logan.
Oh yes.
But I love that they just shrugged and moved on. I don't know. That was very funny to me.
Like,
it was just like, okay. But that was fun.
No, I like
kind
it.
of reminded you like how it all is gonna connect together. Yeah.
I like too that they were like that he's like, this is a machine I just made. It's got this brain cap he put on, and Professor X walks his ass straight in there, not a single question, slaps that thing on his head, and they just go. He wasn't like, do I do this goes here? Like, do I clear my thoughts? Like, he just was like, boom, and they were like rocking.
And they made the first of 2 bald jokes about it.
Yes. God forbid. God forbid this powerful man didn't have hair.
Could you imagine? Because then who would he be? Without who would he be?
Once he puts the Cerebro helmet on, I can't even see the hair.
Our first class, we get Angel Darwin. Is that his name? Our soon to be dead black character.
Yes. He ate a laser. He ate a laser. Kevin Bacon made him eat a laser.
And his power is probably the
You guys
most
talk about Darwin.
confusing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because everyone else was just like, I can do this kind of thing, and he was like, I can adapt.
I'm a metaphor. Like,
Yeah.
and I will not really explain what that literally means. And no one had questions about it. Because
Yeah.
at first I was like, okay, he's just, I just thought he was like speaking superfluously. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, he gets gills when he goes in water.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the next thing is like, oh, okay, but he
He's
has
a
also lava.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can survive anything. So like if you dropped him in a volcano, he would like turn to stone or something, but
yeah, it
don't
seemed
make
like,
him eat anything.
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, but except when it's from the inside out, then
Yeah.
the powers don't work anymore.
The rock can't contain the laser.
Yeah, does that mean he could be poisoned? Like just like cyanide and then he can't?
Yeah, with a simple.
The
Gills can't
parameters
help.
are unclear.
Very
Yeah.
unclear.
Which is probably why they were like, we got to have him eat a laser because we can't figure out
hmm
what's going to happen with him in the next scene.
We can't have him stay.
Yeah.
God forbid. We can't have this black character stay.
And Zoe
He has to
Kravitz
die.
is evil, so it was like right
Mhm.
away the team was like rapidly so white suddenly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz, which producer Michael reminded me that was Zoe Kravitz. I completely had. She just didn't look like she didn't look like that,
It's
like a
different.
Catwoman.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But she's got this like butterfly wings that move at like the speed of hummingbird wings, and she could spit balls of acid.
Yeah.
Okay, acid. I thought it was fire, but that makes sense.
Yeah, because it kind of melted
Oh.
the statue head.
It's definitely
It
acid.
kind of like dripped down the statue head when they were going buck wild and breaking windows and
Yeah.
all their powers.
Well, they were like, let's.
Fucking destroy this place. Because that guy was like, how could I show you that I whistle? Oh, I got it. Here.
Mhm.
It blasts through this, like, the only window in the room right now.
Yeah, I guess it's a hot summer in DC, so that's fine. And then we get yeah, that was Banshee, and then we get I know him to be Havoc. I don't know what his regular name is. The guy who can shoot lasers out of his chest.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was listed in the like credits
As
as Havoc,
Havoc,
but I
yeah.
don't think they ever said that.
I don't think so. Shout out to my nerd listeners. I know that Scott Summers, Cyclops' brother. They're brothers. There you go. They have a whole like soap opera long lost thing. They both think the other one is dead, but then they find each other eventually.
Wow.
Would you rather have lasers coming out of your eyes or out of your chest?
That's the question. I want to say chest because the eye thing, he can't control that. He has to permanently wear those. Like,
Oh, that's
glasses.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think
Yep.
chest is the way to go too.
yeah,
But it does seem like maybe eyes would be easier to control. I don't know.
Yeah. I
yeah.
like this character a lot because I was thinking about in that first scene where everyone's going buck wild, showing off their talents, and he goes outside, he's like about to do his thing. There's a shot of him getting his body ready to shoot the lasers, and you know that there was no effect. It's just him in the camera, and he's like
Doing the Tootsie Roll.
yeah, building up
Yes.
like the laser power to be like blasted out of him, and I just
Yeah.
was picturing that raw footage of him just being out in that courtyard, like
Because the first
it's like that.
the first
Here we
lasers
go.
are like 3 laser hula hoops that kind of shoot off of
Yeah,
it.
they're like-
but then
Yeah.
you see it like that
arms and
again.
maybe around the waist, and they kind of go off. Yeah,
Havoc, you know.
yeah, Havoc.
Okay, this is the scene where I can't stand Mystique, where she like names everybody. Like, I want to be called Mystique.
Oh yeah,
You're Professor X. You're Magneto. Like, what is this?
yes.
And then someone's like, Alex. And she's like, he's not Alex. He's whatever now.
Girl, they
It's
weren't
like,
here.
Yeah.
what is happening?
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that she nailed it first time. Every single person went with the first name that was given to them.
No
That's
notes.
she-
Pressure.
Yeah, she just looked out at them and she was like, Professor X, Magneto, and they both were like,
And-
Moving on.
I do believe the character Angel, that's her real first name is Angel.
Yeah, and Darwin was already going by Darwin.
Oh yeah,
Darwin. I feel so bad for him.
I mean,
it's in that fish tank.
I do feel bad for Darwin, but I'm glad everyone got to see everyone. They got to see all that carnage. It was like, y'all are being so childish. You need to see people drop from the heavens.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they did absolutely nothing when all of that was happening, which I
Nothing.
understand. They don't have all, full control of their.
But I was like, y'all, but on your own accord, sitting in the room just with you guys, destroyed the place. You had nothing held you back from being like, let's
Mhm.
rip that statue in half. But when everyone was dying and when Oliver Platt fell from the sky, everyone just like huddled into a corner together.
Fools.
They had so far to go.
So far to go, which does lead us to the montage.
Yes.
I don't know. I was into it. I like because I love the X-Men, and so just seeing them in their little workout clothes on the Xavier campus, as it were.
Yes, right.
And just I thought this was nice. I'm not really sure what Mystique was doing. I guess pumping some iron.
On like a massage table.
Yeah.
I was like, what room are you in right now?
That's an old time.
Oh, that was a
Bench press.
1960s bench press.
I would have been like, she needed to have like baseball cards and like, be this player, like
Yeah.
shapeshift, like
In some of the quick cuts in between the scenes of the montage, there was a scene of Beast and the professor running, and I couldn't even. The shot was so small, I couldn't tell who they were, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Who's running?" I was like, "Whose thing is running?" And I was like, "I guess the guy has big feet, but does that mean he runs fast?" And it does, turns out, but I couldn't
Matter
tell
of fact.
what the point of that was.
I feel like a foot of that form actually wouldn't make you run better, but maybe it's not related to the shape of the foot, and it's more just a
His
genetic
It's
mutation
just-
that makes you fast or something.
yeah, he can just grip the ground and kind
That's
of
true,
like
yeah.
accelerate.
yeah.
Well, while we're on the Beast subject, let's just go to his. This is where it gets messy. Even for me, I'll admit the Beast of it all. So he takes Mystique's DNA and he injects it into himself to get rid of his hideous feet, and then he turns full blue.
Yeah, and he just made fun of blue people.
Mm-hmm.
A scene prior.
Be careful what you make fun of, because you might just wake up blue yourself.
Yeah, Anthony Lombard, I can't help but notice that you are completely covered in blue fur currently on this call.
Well,
Sorry, was that a secret?
I was trying to keep it a secret. I thought this would be more of a video call, but
Mhm.
I do have a weird toe I've been trying to get rid of. That's on the top of my foot.
Oh wow, seated on top.
Yeah, it makes shoes hard. So, and this is the
Yeah.
result of that.
Is it related at all to when you went to that Candyman's shop and ate a blueberry type?
It was
Candy.
kind of right after I left the Candyman shop and ate the blueberry candy, but I'm afraid of relating those two things in my head because it means I don't get to eat as much candy anymore. So I'm trying to support
Candyman
that.
shop. Yeah.
I don't know if we had that. I don't know if we could afford the IP of saying
Oh, we can't,
a
and we
while.
shouldn't. That's podcast 617.
Okay, great.
So let's zip on over to the end. It's tense. The first mission, the team completely falls apart. It's very tense.
Yes.
Magneto is like, looks at New Beast and is like, wow, never look better. And he's like, I will rip your throat out.
Yes. No confidence in that new Beast.
But also, like, read the room. Like, even if you are like in time, Beast will discover his own beauty. Like, bro just had this huge physical change in the last like 5 hours. Like, Mystique's
Seriously.
like, you're better than before. It's like too soon, Mystique. That is not the type of friendship that he needs in this moment.
Yes.
Mutant and proud.
And proud. There was that big long shot of him walking under the airplane in this insane silhouette where he looks like a big thumb man coming out of like the shadows. You're like, who could this possibly be? A thumb man.
And like in the graphic novels, I always had a crush on Beast. I mean, he's thick,
Mhm.
he's strong, he's like extremely intelligent. I feel like he was always like portrayed in this kind of like, I don't know, maybe just my teenage years. Like, I thought he was like so sexy. This was not it for me. This was like, I don't know. It was like Teen Wolf dyed blue.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for whoever did the like character design, but it was not giving.
Yeah.
It was not giving. And that's what we're here to say what gives and what does not give. Okay, this is just for us. Kathy and Anthony. I almost said Kathy. Cassie and Anthony.
That happens.
Anthony. Do we need to discuss the US warship and the Russian warship? Or can we just do we need to discuss the Mishigash on there?
I think we could skip that. That's like I'm saying, those are all the war scenes. I truly like don't know where I went, but my brain just was like, I don't need to follow this plot.
I mean, I know what they were doing. I think they were trying to really like seamlessly fit in X-Men with what actually happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cool. Not why I'm here. That's not why I watch.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's how I feel like it.
I watch to see Professor X cheer on his boyfriend to lift that sub. And he was like, girl, you got this.
Yes.
I support you. And like have that mental lock. And they're so happy. Oh my God. I was moved. I was moved when he lifted that sub.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget it's a submarine.
Yes, and everyone on the boats drop their binoculars and just like watches the sun get lifted out of the water.
And the classic, like, you know, this is like how the Force works or anything magical like this, you know, the rage will not be enough to fuel you.
Yes.
You have to like think of the happy thoughts to fly,
Halfway between rage and serenity.
And like, while kind of perverse to like go into his brain and mine the happiest thought that is in there, it was still beautiful, especially because Magneto he's like, I didn't know that was still in there. And like Xavier was able to be like, here's a happy memory of like you and your mom.
Look how powerful you could be when you're happy.
Oh my God. Look how powerful you can be when you're happy. God.
You can lift a submarine. You can finally lift that submarine now that you're happy.
God. And it's crazy. And that did lead to X-Men 3 when Magneto lifted the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge. We don't need to go back. Don't take me back there. We don't have to go back there. We get some cool fights, some cool superhero fights. Any matchup stand out to you guys at all?
I think in general, what's the person who screams?
Banshee.
Mm-hmm.
Their flying ability, I love that they're just kind of like, at first when they explained it, they're like, if you scream at a supersonic rate, you'll match it and fly. And I was like, I think that almost makes sense. But then he kind of like screams at the downward, and maybe that's like the force that lifts him. Anyway, I love the fight, him and Angel flying around over the ship, fighting each other. She shoots a flame ball into his wing, which throws the whole system off. And now he's tumbling into the water. He was a sonar machine earlier. He like dove into the water. And they were like, he got it. Our guy down there got it.
And I do love every time he swoops right close to the camera, like, and up into the frame, you hear like just the faintest. They piped in just like a little bit of like a screaming sound.
Like jet engine. They just were like running it back and forth.
And I like the beast fight where like Raz, what is his name?
Azazel.
Yes.
Azazel.
Red Devil.
Azazel, he's trying to like teleport and drop people, but this time Beast is like, we learned from you. I'm gonna put my claws in you. My new claws.
Good line, like I forget what he says, like
where you go,
we go, or something.
if you go down, we go down, or like if we go down, you go down. Yeah.
That makes more sense.
That was beautiful. Mystique did you see when Mystique did the one thing when
she turned into
Kevin Bacon?
Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Oh yeah. Good work.
Which made me think actually for a second.
She was there.
Does she need to see the person to be able to turn into them? Because I was wondering if she'd ever seen him that day.
Well, not that day, but when he attacked, wasn't he wearing he was wearing the helmet when he first walked in?
Oh, yes, exactly. Okay, yeah, he was. Yeah. Okay, great. That solves that complete.
Well, I was trying to remember with Mystique.
One plot hole down.
Doesn't she have beyond shapeshifting? Traditionally, isn't she like really strong or acrobatic? Or I think that's So I was also thinking she's kind of useless, but I feel like in some other of the series, they give her more. She has more to work with.
And I think she has it now because like there was that moment where she wanted to also go fight the other mutants, and Professor X was like, "No, you need to stay here because to protect me and Moira. Don't forget Moira's there. Because like if anyone comes in, you're gonna deal with them." So I guess she has some fighting abilities.
Yeah, which we didn't see. To see it. They just were like, "That'll just be happening. Just know that that's happening."
Yeah. If we need it, she's there.
She's over there protecting that doorway or something, the entryway.
Yeah. Also, my gosh, so sorry. January Jones has been arrested at this point. We didn't forget about her.
Yeah.
Magneto confronts Kevin Bacon, justice for his mom, coin through the head. And then he takes the helmet. And that's when things get really, there's like a tug of war.
Yeah.
Where like, also Magneto presents dead Kevin Bacon's body to everybody.
Like
Just
Jesus.
Yeah.
much
Props
like
to the
Jesus.
field. Yeah.
Crazy.
Is he flying because of the helmet? This is the first time we see Magneto levitate, I think.
Yeah, there's
I
something
think
with
it was like the helmet.
well, it's the magnetic fields
Okay.
on
okay.
Earth that he can
Oh.
allows him to levitate.
Which I love, but like this was kind of, I don't know, it
Check.
felt like
Nope,
a
that's
cool...
completed.
They revealed it, but I thought they should have made a bigger, maybe it was a big moment, but to me the moment was like watching this like kind of crucified man with
Yeah.
like blood running down his face. But to me,
Yeah.
it seemed like a big turning point of like Magneto's power
Yeah.
evolving again, where now he can fly.
Right.
And I don't know, so
Mhm.
it felt misplaced on the
Mhm.
focus of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely supposed to evoke horror, and I think that whole image is what changes like Azazel and Tornado Man and Angel. Like, okay, I go with you now.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Tornado Man.
Tornado Man. The rockets red glare and they're firing at them. Magneto stops it, turns it back. And then there's like this thing to stop him from killing, and then Moira starts shooting at Magneto. He deflects the bullet.
Yes.
Gets stuck. Oh my god! When Magneto is responsible for his boyfriend being paralyzed,
Yes. And
that's
he starts strangling Moira,
mhm.
and Professor X says, "This was you. You did this."
It's like, babe, it was you. Like
Yeah.
this is Fault in Our Stars level tragic, I would say.
He was like, "Ting."
I stand by that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he won't let anyone come near Xavier. He's like, back off. And he's just like wants to have the moment alone.
Oh,
with
yeah.
him,
Oh my
and
god.
it
And
was
then he
beautiful.
calls, he's like, oh, we're brothers. I'm like, that's not what you mean to say. You don't mean that.
We're more than brothers.
More than brothers.
More. Ugh, secret lovers. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Mystique flips. She goes with Magneto. And the war
Well,
begins.
Professor X kind of like tells her to.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm just kind of like, that's a cure. He's like wanting her to be herself and like follow what she thinks is true, which I'm like, I guess on your deathbed you're kind of having this little turn of phrase, but it's interesting that you're like, go be evil if that's what you really want.
Yeah. Like, oh, go kill humans, even though I'm
Yeah.
firmly against that and
Yeah.
will stop you and have you arrested.
Yeah.
I felt like he let her go. I don't know how I feel about it. Because I'm
But, like,
like,
more like-
it was the most like selfless thing he'd done for Mystique. You know, he's like, I can
was
see
like-
what you actually want, and I'm gonna like free you of like staying on my behalf.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
True.
yeah, it doesn't seem like what they're about to go do is like something that aligns with his belief system.
Right. He's
So-
like literally going to try to stop her.
Mm-hmm. And then the status quo is established. He reopens the school. Terrible. Wipes Moira's mind. He's like, I love you. Forget everything about me. Which
Ugh.
First off, shocked that there was a relationship there, that
Yeah.
they were kissing at the end, and then also then he wiped her memory. And even in that scene where she's explaining that her memory is wiped, I thought maybe, you know, there'll be a scene after that or a moment where she winks at the camera and we like, you know, she's
Straight
trying to,
down the barrel.
yeah,
Mhm.
she's like lying to keep her job or something, you know, but no, he just wiped her mind.
I don't remember a thing.
yeah. Ah.
Wink.
Yeah.
If I was
Even
Dragon.
Yes. Well, and even after she also he wipes her mind after she's like, you should be X-Men. He's like, great, my idea.
Yeah. Forget my face.
Yeah. Ooh, no, this looks bad. Forget my face.
And she said the line right before that, she's like, wow, they're walking on the grounds of the school. And she's like, wow, how many kids do you think you can help here? And he says something along the lines of like, as many as I can, and maybe some more.
I was like, what's
It wasn't
that mean?
exactly that, but it was such a like.
Yeah, I think it was like
Yeah.
as many as we can handle, and maybe some more. And I was like, okay.
But she's just like asking how many bedrooms you have there.
Right.
Like, how many kids
Yeah.
can you afford? There has
Like
to be.
how many rooms?
Right, and it's 30. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, Magneto recruits Emma Frost.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And the new Brotherhood of Evil is created, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
And you know, much like Magneto went to retrieve Emma Frost, stay with me, we're gonna retrieve Fuck, Marry, Kill. Yes, a bit of a stretch, but so was this movie. Fuck, marry, kill. It's crazy. For X-Men 1, we did Professor X, Magneto, and Mystique. And for the reboot, we're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Those are our players up for grabs. I'll give my guests time to think because this will be the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. I'm going to kill Mystique. That's not hard. She's a traitor, and also I just finished talking about the Skrulls on Secret Invasion. I can't deal with shapeshifters right now.
Yep. Understood.
Thank you.
Heard.
Okay, this is new for me. I'm gonna fuck Professor X.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just think that's where he's at. I don't think he's really available for anything else. Also, I don't trust his non-consensual mind control stuff. So,
how do you think like the mind reading abilities would help or hinder in the bedroom?
Well, based upon Mel Gibson and What Women Want, he will know exactly.
If the same rules apply.
if they're on the same wavelength, he'll know exactly what I want.
It's the same universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you saying Mel Gibson's a mutant in Chicago in the ad agency?
Oh my god, he just hasn't been discovered yet.
Cassie, don't do this to me.
He needs to be more present on Cerebro, or else
yeah, Cerebro. Yeah, so like he'll know what I want, and it'll be good. And then the real trick is I'll reject him because I'm gonna marry Eric Magneto. He needs someone, and I think especially at this point I'll be right there where just before he turns full evil, and I know I'm not a mutant that we know of, but I think he'll like what I have to say, what I have to give. I think I'm a good partner. I'll send him a good morning text literally every day.
I think you guys would make a cute couple.
Oh yeah.
You're just saying that, but
I think that's really thoughtful. Yeah, to think of what Magneto needs.
Yeah, because no one else does.
Clearly.
He has been alone his whole life.
Yeah.
God. Anyway, I'm gonna fix a broken man.
That always
like
goes well.
But this time it's gonna work. Okay, let's go. Cassie Ayers, please. Who are your picks?
It's hard,
It is.
but I will be killing Xavier because I just found him mansplaining and I don't know, he wasn't for me.
Mhm.
Aesthetically, sure, he's hot, but he's dead to me now. And then I'm going to.
Happens.
This is where it gets hard. I think I will marry Magneto. He really is in touch with his emotions. He speaks a lot of languages. He is just a tall drink of water. And then Mystique, I'd have sex with Mystique. She's like a tiger, as I learned from her other lover in the film.
Yes.
And
Her other lover.
she can transform. So like she can really, that's having sex with anyone I want.
Yeah.
So I might just have her look like Magneto and just get the whole win-win of the situation.
And maybe have them both over at the same time and double Magnetos.
That's cool.
Double
That's hot.
Magneto.
And also just like every time, because I never know the rules of fuck, marry, kill. Like, is it, are you having sex with them for a lifetime, or is it like a one and done situation? Is it like you're married to someone and then the only person you have sex with for the rest of your life is
The fuck?
Mystique? Or
Yeah.
So
it's-
it's a one and done.
I think it's a world where like you have a one and done fuck, and then you can always fuck the person you're married to.
oh, okay, cool.
And
Then-
correct me if I'm wrong, you don't get to fuck the person you kill.
Correct. You just
Correct.
killed him. Mhm.
Okay.
okay, cool. Well, I'd still, I'd fuck Mystique. Okay,
Make that
Anthony,
bet.
what are you
Do
thinking?
not fuck the person I kill.
Mm. that would be too cruel.
I've always been so confused about that rule, so I'm glad we got that figured out.
Yeah. Anthony Lombard, who are your picks?
Okay, this one I thought I had in the bag, but then I listened to both of you, and probably this is why Cassie and I have been together for 10 years, is that I would do the same thing Cassie did, which
Wow.
is that I would kill
Wow.
Xavier, because he's just a little cocky, and he took a bullet in the back like a wimp, and he could have dodged it. He could have jumped, could have controlled her powers. He could have gotten inside Moira's mind. She seems pretty easy to get inside someone's mind. She's just a civilian. Anyway, Xavier's dead.
Yeah.
And I would have
Different
sex
reasons,
with
but yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence as her blue woman, or the second blonde woman she turned into when she was trying to convince.
Wow, rating the blonde women against each other.
She was like,
well,
I'm a blonde naked white woman, but what about this blonde naked white woman?
Oh, real quick, thank you
Yes.
for bringing that up. So that second woman was Rebecca Romijn, who played Mystique in the original X-Men movies.
Oh, I was wondering. I was like, this is probably somebody.
Yeah, so that little much like Wolverine, a little cameo.
Yeah.
She just looked like out of focus Jennifer Lawrence.
That's
It's like
literally
they're
like
the
the same
same.
thing.
I don't understand why this is like, oh, not this old frumpy old Jennifer Lawrence Mystique. Like,
Yeah.
how about this girl you were flirting with earlier, who is the same as
Same
me?
thing. Yeah.
Anyways,
That's
that's
what I
great.
thought.
You should have,
Yeah.
that sounds great for you.
Yeah, and I would marry Magneto, and I would try to help him, but honestly, I'm just along for the ride. So if we're smashing submarines, I'm there hanging out.
So we're all Magneto, and
We're all
that we can
there.
agree.
Yeah,
I-
we should be there.
My new favorite phrase, smashing submarines, is absolutely what it should be called. Yes. All right, beautiful. Once again, we've done it. We fucked, we've married, and we've killed. That's the show. That's the movie, X-Men First Class. I'm still coming out of it liking it because I know what I'm I know what I'm looking at. There are things that I truly will leave the room for. Thank you both so much for doing this podcast. Where can we find you? What do you have plugs? What are you doing?
Wow.
Find us on Instagram.
Great start.
My Instagram handle is Cassie_airs. And yeah, Anthony and I, we do a bunch of different creative stuff, but a lot of things we do together. We make music videos and sketch comedy videos, and we have a musical, The Mountain Digby, which will be coming back to town someday soon. So follow us for those updates.
Yep.
And
Oh,
your
my
handle is?
Instagram is AKA Tony Lombard, and if you're looking at it online, it'll look like Akatoni. It's me.
Which could be a great acapella.
Could be a
Group
great
name.
acapella group. The
Akatoni.
Lombards.
Beautiful. I've seen Mount Digby. It's fun. They're great. If you need me to vouch. Wonderful. This is Podcast 616. You can follow this podcast on Instagram at Podcast616P3. That P3 stands for Press Play Podcast, the podcasting network that allows me to do a summer of X because they don't regulate me at all. There are no rules. I could truly do whatever I want. It's crazy. Producer Michael, thank you. But if you want to hop on the mic real quick, what letter grade would you give this podcast episode? How did we do?
So I didn't like the movie. I liked the show more than the movie. So I'm gonna give you guys an A+.
Yes, thank you. That's why I do it. That's why I do it every week. Thank you, producer Michael. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Anthony. And thank you, Michael Fassbender, for making me believe in love again. And we'll be back next week to talk about Days of Future Past. And until next time, don't forget that with great power comes even greater responsibility.